Welcome to Eldritch Lurk, Brave Explorers. This is the realm where shadows tell stories that are beyond imagination. I am your guide. I weave stories that transcend the ordinary and take you to the eldritch unknowable. We explore the haunting metamorphosis Elias underwent, from his shattered childhood innocence to the chilling winds in a desolate room. Each episode invites the viewer to embrace enigmas, where regrets dance with eldritch powers. Get ready for a journey where the mundane meets eldritch. Eldritch Lark beckons, the shadows await. Are you prepared to discover the secrets that lie beyond the veil of obscurity? Welcome to Eldritch Lurk, a world where wonder and terror converge into tales that haunt the darkest corners of your brain. One monstrous creature stood alone, atop an ornate throne, observing the world below. They were once human beings, but their ambition for power had driven them to succumb to the evil in themselves. The throne was constructed from conquered realms and bore witness to the silenced cries of civilizations that are now dust. At its feet, broken crowns were scattered around like dreams that had been crushed. Each fragment was a reminder of a former ruler. The horizon stretched out endlessly, devoid of any life or movement. The conqueror was now a lonely ruler in desolation. He longed for the days of vibrant cities and bustling markets with children playing happily together. In tears of regret and defeat, he cried blacker than the ocean. The hollow eyes of the monster stared at the remains of his victory, not with pride but with a deflated sense of defeat. The lonely ruler cried to the gods about his loneliness, not because he was alone, but because he lacked genuine connections in his life. The conqueror's thoughts wandered as he surveyed the aftermath of his dominion, bringing back regrets he had long forgotten while pursuing dominion. As he realized the emotional isolation that conquest brought, a chill ran down his spine. His monstrous body trembled under the weight of its own mass. He was consumed by his insatiable desire for power and found comfort in genuine bonds. But the desolation around his throne offered no peace or comfort. The lonely conqueror was left seated on his twisted throne as an embodiment of regret. Celestial laments continued to resound across the desolation, an echo from heaven paying one final tribute to a ruler that had done all but conquer his inner demonic forces. Elias, an orphan living in a village nestled between rolling hills, was an orphan. In his early years, people who he was supposed to trust inflicted him with unimaginable pain. Elias carried the scars of this experience within him. Elias' heart grew bitter as he aged. As Elias aged, his heart became bitter with regret for past events. Elias' torment gave rise to a monster, a tyrant that eventually claimed control over all those around him. Elias's quest for power led him to join dark forces. He willingly gave up parts of himself to gain greater strength to change the world. His rise was brutal and swift. Villages crumbled under his feet while kingdoms fell. He was soon known as the Dread Sovereign, who had conquered all that stood before him. Elias sat on his citadel throne and looked out at the world he had conquered. His forces now controlled a vast array of lands. The cheers of his subjects were long gone, replaced by a silence that hid their joy. Their tears flowed freely after every victory under his banner. He had become an embodiment of everything they had suffered. Elias felt overwhelmed by his power, and yet alone in the midst of his vast dominion. Even his throne, which was decorated with trophies, seemed cold and empty. The chilling winds blowing through the corridors brought back painful memories of his childhood. Elias, seated on his imposing throne and refusing to leave its grasps, was powerless against the haunting images that occupied his mind. Elias, the once invincible tyrant, began to feel the frailty and humanity of which he once had such power. Elias was overwhelmed by regret like an ocean. He was now trapped by regret, the weight of which had made him godlike. Elias felt no comfort from the serene silence of his citadel. Instead, he felt loneliness and regret at his former throne becoming a place of solitude and desolation. The shadows of the past and present covered him, bringing a darkening cloud to this once powerful ruler. Elias the monster, a boy who had become a monster, realized that his conquests were bringing down entire worlds. Elias, once an indomitable leader, is now a ruler whose empire is built on suffering. His ruler laments his own fallibility while watching as the kingdom falls around him. Elias, the dread sovereign, sat on his desolation throne, a grim memorial to his past victories and failures in the freezing cold expanses of a Canadian citadel. The air reeked of conquest, while whispers on its walls related tales of the past sufferings that had turned this wounded boy into an unredeemable dictator. Elias, whose eyes were once filled with wonder and awe, now showed the bleak world he created. Elias, who had transformed from an abused child to a cruel conqueror, had changed more than just his appearance. It had also created a clear disconnect between the person he was before and the monster that he had become. Elias sat on his throne and gazed out over his vast realms beyond the stone walls of the citadel. His eye was fixed upon villages and cities that had been subdued by his rule. Their once bustling villages and vibrant cities were now quiet under Elias's rule. The hollow cheers of victory against Elias's isolation wall were echoed with hollowness. Elias thought back to his village, where he had lost innocence as a child, where the victims had betrayed and revealed their true faces, now beseeching instead of bitter. Yet the boy who had suffered had become the cause. Elias's soul was engulfed by a deep sense of regret. Its tendrils reached deep into his very being. Conquest bound together the world like chains, and remorse binded his soul. Elias had become a man of power who was now trapped in a web of isolation that was far from human contact. Elias's mind drifted to those whose lives were destroyed by his pursuit of an imaginary power that he did not possess. In Elias's kingdom, as despair filled its vast halls, chilling winds whispered the names of those he had destroyed. Mournful voices sang their sorrows in Elias. He had once dreamed of a different fate, but now found himself in the middle of a harsh reality. Elias suddenly found himself overcome with tears. They came unannounced and without warning. His sins seemed more important than ever. Power, which had once been his source of pride, was now an oppressive burden. Elias mourned his loss of innocence, companionship, and humanity after conquering a world devoid of humanity that he sacrificed to achieve his goals. Behind the monstrous facade of his monster was a soul that sought redemption in its ruins. Moral, power, its cost, and redemption through empathy. The pursuit of power, when born from personal suffering and cruelty, can leave a lasting impression on both the individual and other people. Elias's story is a warning to those who have not addressed past wounds that they can become something bigger and distort one's essence for years. The story explores empathy, kindness, and the importance of preserving humanity in the face of hardship. Elias, once an innocent victim, succumbed to the power's allure, but found comfort only in dominance. Understanding and connection are essential in the pursuit of personal power. This story emphasizes that real strength is not found in dominating others, but rather in the ability to form meaningful relationships and turn painful memories into positive agents of change. The whispers of eldritch lurk are still in the air as we end our journey through the eldritch halls. I thank you for your courage in venturing with me into the unknown. We hope that the enigmatic sounds we have shared will continue to dance through your mind, provoking curiosity and reflection. You might want to share these eldritch tales with other seekers if they have intrigued you. Remember that the mysteries of eldritch lurk never fade. May the shadows protect your secrets until we cross paths again, and may the eldritch unknowable always call. Goodbye, wanderers, until the next plunge into the the enigmatic depths, eldritch lurk,